Okay, good morning. Well, let's see. We are on a new chapter. I told you last week wrong. I thought last week was the last of fractions, but it's not. However, thankfully, they did the harder fractions first. Addition and subtraction is a little bit harder than multiplication and division. In fact, they take a lot more time. Because when you add or subtract fractions, you have to make sure they have common denominators. In multiplication and division, you don't. So that's what makes it so great. So let's look at page 175 right quick. We're going to do the front and the back. All right, so we're learning to multiply fractions. So in this exercise, we're going to learn about multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions is actually much easier than adding or subtracting, is what I just said. Two important facts about multiplying fractions. To multiply, you do not need to find common denominators. When we multiply fractions, we're actually finding a smaller fraction. And they're going to demonstrate with these points. Now, when we multiply fractions, we simply multiply straight across without finding a common denominator like this. So they show 1/4. This is on your page. 1/4 times 1/3. Just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 3 is 12, 1/12. You can see the answer to the example above is smaller than either of the fractions being multiplied, because if you think of 1/4 or 1/12, think of a pizza. Always think in terms of pizza. Think of 1/4 of a pizza. That means a whole pizza divided into fourths. Those are big pieces. One's gone. Okay, a fourth is just half of a half. So there's still a lot of pizza left. 3/4 is left, and that's still a lot. Think about a pizza cut into thirds. Those are even bigger. And 1/3 gone. There's still quite a bit left. Now think of, if we multiply those together, think of a pizza cut into 12 pieces and one's gone. Okay? All right. For example, Grandma made a large loaf of fresh banana bread. Well, let's look right below those numbers first. You can see the answer to the example problem above is smaller than either of the fractions being multiplied, which 1/12 is smaller than 1/4 and 1/3. And I'm not talking about the pieces that are gone. I'm not talking about the ones. I'm talking about if you have a pizza that's divided into fourths, or a pizza divided into thirds, or a pizza divided into twelfths, which one has smaller pieces? The 12th. That's what it's saying. It's saying that your answer to multiplication, you know, when you multiply just numbers, like say 2 times 2, you get 4. Okay, when you just multiply whole numbers, you get a bigger number. But when you multiply fractions, you actually end up with a fraction that has smaller pieces to it. Okay? All right, so many times when we need to multiply fractions in real life, we use the word of instead of times. For example, Grandma made a large loaf of fresh banana bread. She gave Hiro 1/4 of the loaf to take to Pastor Donovan, who cut the treat into 3 equal pieces to share with his wife and daughter. What fractional part of the original loaf did Pastor Donovan's daughter eat? Now, so this problem is asking us to find out what 1/3 of 1/4 is. Always remember this. Hold on just a second. In math, when you see the word of, I think I've told you this before, it always means to multiply. The word of means to multiply in math. Okay? So the problem wants to know what 1/3 of 1/4 is. So you could just write 1/3 instead of, and then that's where you just multiply across. Okay? Now, let's look where they drew it. This is what it would look like if you drew it. There's 1/4. Okay? There's 1/3. So 1/3 of 1/4 is 1/12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure how that picture is supposed to show you that, because that doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Okay, let's just do the problems. So look at the problem at the bottom. 1/5. It says 1/5 of, which means times 3/4. Oh, I see what that's saying. I understand the picture now. Okay, so 1/5 of 3/4. That's taking something, breaking it into fourths. Okay. 1/5 of 3/4. And then taking 3 of the fourths, because it's 3/4, and separating each of these into fifths evenly. Okay? And then saying what is 1/5 of 3/4. So in order to do that, we just multiply across. And then reduce if we need to. That's all you do. Okay, so that what that would mean is if we divided, I don't know if I can do this evenly. 2, 3. There's 1/5. Okay, and then you do it again. So 1/5 of, and you did it all the way across. So 1/5 of the 3/4 would actually be 20. It'd be 3. It would be 20 marks, and it would be 3. Would be 1/5. I think that's getting you confused because I'm not sure how to explain that. Basically, just multiply across and simplify. That's all you need to know. All right, number 2. 1/10 of 2/3. Multiply across, you get 2/30ths. That can be simplified. Okay. Now, is 2 a multiple of 30? Can it go into that? It can, right? So that automatically tells you if this number can go into this number evenly, if it's divisible by this, then automatically you know your number on top is 1 because you're going to divide both of these by this number. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 30 divided by 2 is... That's all you do. Okay? All right, so go ahead and pause it and finish these 6 down here at the bottom and then turn it back on. Okay. Let me try to find my answer book, my answer key in here so I can have it close by. It's easier for me to do that. Okay, let me go ahead and give you the answers. We're going to start on number 3 because I helped you with 1 and 2. Number 3, your answer should have been 2/45. 4 should have been 3/8. 5 would have been 7/27. And 6 would have been 3/55. 3/55. Okay? Now, if you didn't get those right, it's probably because you just didn't simplify them correctly. That's okay. You'll need to go figure out why you didn't. If you can. If not, let me know. All right, turn to the next page. All right, let's look at number 7. Charlotte and Natty made homemade pizza for supper. There was an entire pizza left over, so Mom told them to cut 2/3 of it to package separately. She told the girls that the children could share the remaining 2/3 of the pizza as part of their school lunches the next day. What fraction of the original whole pizza did each of the 5 children get for their lunch? Okay, so let's see. Let's erase all this. All right, so let's go back, read it one more time so we can understand it. Charlotte and Natty made homemade pizza for supper. There was an entire pizza left over. They had an entire pizza left over. So Mom told them to cut 2/3 of it, 2/3 of the whole pizza, to package it up. She told the girls that the children could share the remaining 2/3 of the pizza as part of their school lunches the next day. What fraction of the original whole pizza did each of the 5 children get for their lunch? All right. Pardon me. So equation is 2/3 of 1/5. Now, I'm showing you this from my teacher book, and I'm not quite sure how to tell you 1/5. Why did they put 1/5? I'm guessing it was because there were 5 children. She told the girls that the children could share the remaining 2/3 of the pizza, an entire pizza. Mom told them to cut 2/3 of it. Share the remaining 2/3 as part of their school lunches the next day. Yeah. 2/3 did each of the 5 children get for their lunch? They got 2/15 of the pizza. Your answer would be pizza slices or parts of the pizza or whatever, pizzas or whatever. I'm not real sure. I'm kind of confused as to why they put this number. 1/5 would have been 1 out of 5 children. I guess that's it. Yeah, that would be it. That would be like a ratio. So 1 child out of 5 shares 2/3. I guess that's why they did that. That's the only thing I can think of, is they had 2/3 left over, and how many did each of the 5 children get? So it'd be 2/15 of pizza. Yeah, that's the only way I know to explain it to you. All right, let's look at number 8. I'll just have to help you with those. You must find, this is true or false. You must find a common denominator before multiplying 2 fractions. False. Number 9. You get a much larger fraction when you multiply 2 fractions. That's false, because here you have 2/3 and 1/5, and then you get 2/15. Notice how this bottom number is bigger than these 2 numbers here. That means that you multiply these fractions and you get, this is actually a smaller fraction than these because it's cut into so many more pieces. Number 10, the word of means multiplication in this problem. That's true. All right. On number 11. Numbers 11 through 19. I'm going to let you do those yourself. Watch the signs. Now these are plus and minus. Of course, then you have to reduce those other ones. Number 20 you don't have to do. So 11 through 19, I want you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 of those, and I think I'll grade those. So go ahead, if you want to, just pause this and work on those problems, and then turn it back on. I'll give you the answers, and you can grade it yourself. Okay, on number 11, your answer should have been 32. Just a whole 32, because you would have gotten 31 and 9/9. But your answer simplified would have been 32. Number 12, 8 and 1/7. Number 13, 2 and 4/5. 14, 2 and 1/5. Number 15, 1/3. 16, 4/5. 17, 3/4. 18, 8/25. And number 19, 1/40. All right, I hope you did okay on those. So let me know, turn it in or whatever, and let me know, and that way I can take the grade on it, okay? So that's all.